It's a very interesting video I wanted to see.
Because we all have pockets of incompetence we don't recognize. But why? When psychologists Dunning and Kruger first described the effect in 1999, they argued that people lacking knowledge and skill in particular areas suffer a double curse. First, they make mistakes and reach poor decisions. But second, those same knowledge gaps also prevent them from catching their errors. In other words, poor performers lack the very expertise needed to recognize how badly they're doing. For example, when the researchers studied participants in a college debate tournament, the bottom 25% of teams in preliminary rounds lost nearly 4 out of every 5 matches. But they thought they were winning almost 60%. Without a strong
So
grasp.
in fact, here this thing is very true, and unless you know what the mistake is, how you will fix it. So therefore, that's why we need guidance, and that's why we need a teacher, and that's why we cannot do this alone, because subjectively we can fall into this trap anytime. Now, in order to execute proper practice, and what practice is, this is another very interesting video of these same guys, and this is very, very true. So many things, and I do agree. In fact, we have a study program specifically designed to avoid all these pitfalls. So look at this thing.
Mastering any physical skill, be it performing a pirouette, playing an instrument, or throwing a baseball, takes practice. Practice is the repetition of an action with the goal of improvement, and it helps us perform with more ease, speed, and confidence. So what does practice do in our brains to make us better at things? Our brains have 2 kinds of neural tissue, gray matter and white matter. The gray matter processes information in the brain, directing signals and sensory stimuli to nerve cells, while white matter is mostly made up of fatty tissue and nerve fibers. In order for our bodies to move, information needs to travel from the brain's gray matter down the spinal cord through a chain of nerve fibers called axons to our muscles. So how does practice or repetition affect the inner workings of our brains? The axons that exist in the white matter are wrapped with a fatty substance called myelin, and it's this myelin covering or sheath that seems to change with practice. Myelin is similar to insulation on electrical cables. It prevents energy loss from electrical signals that the brain uses, moving them more efficiently along neural pathways. Some recent studies in mice suggest that the repetition of a physical motion increases the layers of myelin sheath that insulates the axons. And the more layers, the greater the insulation around the axon chains, forming a sort of superhighway for information connecting your brain to your muscles. So while many athletes and performers attribute their successes to muscle memory, muscles themselves don't really have memory. Rather, it may be the myelination of neural pathways that give these athletes and performers their edge with faster and more efficient neural pathways. There are many theories that attempt to quantify the number of hours, days, and even years of practice that it takes to master a skill. While we don't yet have a magic number, we do know that mastery isn't simply about the amount of hours of practice. It's also the quality and effectiveness of that practice.
And that is precisely why we have a study program, because it's not just enough to practice, but how do you practice? And then, because of the other thing before we explained, unless you know something is wrong, how you will fix it? So therefore, this is a big problem. The only solution to this is to take to a proper method and measure objectively your progress under personalized, specific expert guidance, not just anything, but you need a mirror, and that's why I'm doing this course on Skype. to make it, to be able to help people how they can improve things really objectively, because they record themselves playing, so you will end up knowing if you progress or not.
Effective practice is consistent, intensely focused, and targets content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of one's current abilities.
This is one part that I also explained before, that if you keep practicing what you want, what you like, instead of what you need, and you cannot know yourself what you need by your own, because of what we explained before, this lack of knowledge itself bars you from getting what really you need. And most of the people, generally, anyone who does not have a teacher and does not follow a method, they do only what the mind tells them to do. So they practice what they like, not what they need. So here, this is a very nice parameter, that people said there, that it has to be something which challenges you, but not too much, and that makes you grow, right? To see that, that's why we need a teacher, exactly. That's why it doesn't work, do it yourself, the thing. Do it yourself and be confused forever, because there is this circle there of the very lack of knowledge keeping you away from the understanding of how you could ever solve this problem. It's a very interesting thing, this.
Of one's current abilities.
So look at the definition.
So content or weaknesses that practice. Effective practice is consistent, intensely focused, and targets content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of one's current abilities. So if effective practice is the key, how can we get the most out of our practice time? Try these tips. Focus on the task at hand. Minimize potential distractions by turning off the computer or TV and putting your cell phone on airplane mode. In one study, researchers observed 260 students studying. On average, those students were able to stay on task for only 6 minutes at a time. Laptops, smartphones, and particularly Facebook were the root of most distractions. Start out slowly or in slow motion. Coordination is built with repetitions, whether correct or incorrect. If you gradually increase the speed of the quality repetitions, you have a better chance of doing them correctly. Next, frequent repetitions with allotted breaks are common practice habits of elite performers. Studies have shown that many top athletes, musicians, and dancers spend 50 to 60 hours per week on activities related to their craft. Many divide their time used for effective practice into multiple daily practice sessions of limb.
And now how we will do that? Alone. By guessing, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Good luck.
Limited duration. And finally, practice in your brain in vivid detail. It's a bit surprising, but a number of studies suggest that once a physical motion has been established, it can be reinforced just by imagining it.
It's so true.
In one study, 144 basketball players were divided into two groups. Group A physically practiced one-handed free throws, while Group B only mentally practiced them. When they were tested at the end of the 2-week experiment, the intermediate and experienced players in both groups had improved by nearly the same amount. As scientists get closer to unraveling the secrets of our brains, our understanding of effective practice will only improve. In the meantime, effective practice is the best way we have of pushing our individual limits, achieving new heights, and maximizing our potential.
Very interesting thing. And then therefore also, of course, this communication aspect, which we will also learn when playing in groups, because music is about communication. And this is very, very important thing. And then therefore, it matters how do we perceive subjectively things here and how we will communicate specific topics.
3. Take time to understand as you try to be understood. In the rush to express ourselves, it's easy to forget that communication is a two-way street. Be open to what the other person might say.
Se me ayudó porque descubrí ahí la improvisación. La improvisación es algo que yo pienso que cada músico debería a músicos del estilo que sea, del clásico, del flamenco, de cualquier otra música, debería aprender, porque en la improvisación te da mucha libertad y a la vez te da mucho conocimiento de dónde estás tocando, de cómo estás tocando, de qué armonías están en cada momento, ¿no?
Muy bien. Pablo.
Paco, ¿qué es para usted la música popular y qué es la música elitista?
Yo creo que la música elitista es el refinamiento de la música popular. Por ejemplo, el flamenco. El flamenco originalmente es una música popular, la música del pueblo andalusí. Pero creo que ya no le pertenece más al pueblo, porque de pronto habemos gente que nos hemos pasado toda una vida encerrados, puliendo esa expresión popular. Entonces ha llegado a un nivel en el que el pueblo ya no tiene acceso, sobre todo a los matices que vamos consiguiendo la gente como yo, que nos pasamos muchas horas elaborando